Here's the reality, veterans. Bad C&P exams are common. You're not crazy. You're not alone. And you don't have to accept the VA's first decision. Too many veterans give up. There's too many mistakes. Veterans are getting frustrated and giving up. But you do not have to accept the VA's first decision. The system is stacked against us. The burden of proof lies on me and you, the veteran. But check this out. Knowledge is power, okay? That's the purpose of this channel. If you know how to spot a bad exam and how to fight back, then guess what, veterans? You've got a fighting chance to win the benefits that you deserve, okay? It's very important, okay? If you've had a terrible experience with a C&P examiner or feel that your condition was misunderstood, you can absolutely take steps to demand a new exam before your claim is finalized. And that's what I'm breaking down in this live stream, okay? Time is critical, though. You need to act fast, right? So in this live stream, I'm going to cover the reality of bad C&P exams, why they occur, and most importantly, how you, the veteran, can fight back to ensure your claim is accurately evaluated, okay? So let's get right to it, all right? Bad C&P exams can derail your claim, right? So poorly conducted C&P exams are more common than they should be and can lead to what? Claim denials or low disability ratings. Maybe you're not rated where you should be, and they are not reflecting the condition severity of whatever it is that you filed for. You, the veteran, need to take immediate action if you've had a bad C&P exam. Veterans, you have the power to fight back by requesting a new exam before the VA finalizes a decision. That's the good news. However, the time is absolutely critical and crucial. You need to take quick action. It is essential to avoid an unfavorable outcome. Call 1-800-827-1000 immediately if you've had an unfavorable C&P exam and ask for a new compensation and pension exam, okay? The compensation and pension exams, for those of you who don't know, they do play a critical role in your VA disability rating. I'm going to be going over the action steps to fix that bad C&P exam if you have experienced a bad C&P exam, right? I hope that's not you, but if it is, this video is for you, okay? The compensation and pension exam, what is it in case you guys don't know? It's the medical evaluation scheduled by the VA or a VA contracted examiner, okay? The purpose of the exam is to assess whether you have the condition you've claimed and is it actually diagnosed or not. If the condition is related to your military service, another service connected disability, meaning you filed for something secondary, veterans, or it's presumptive, right? They want to know, is it service connected? The severity of your symptoms in terms of frequency, severity, and duration, they want to know that, as well as how those symptoms negatively impact your work life, your life in general, relationally and socially. Okay. And again, more importantly, occupationally, how are you impacted, right? Because VA benefits are replacement income based on the severity of the conditions that you are filing for. The results of your compensation and pension exam do absolutely play a huge role in determining your VA disability rating, which directly affects your monthly compensation. Okay. So whether your claim is approved or denied, or if your disability rating is increased or decreased, it often hinges and hangs upon the findings from the compensation and pension exam. Okay. So let's get into why are some C&P exams bad? Unfortunately, not all compensation and pension exams are conducted with the care and thoroughness that they require. In reality, bad C&P exams are unfortunately very quite common. They happen quite often. It's not fair to me and you. And many veterans experience them during the VA disability claims process. A variety of issues ranging from examiner training to biases can result in your receiving of inadequate or inaccurate evaluations, and that's not fair to you, right? So below are some of the most common reasons that I want to go over why C&P exams may absolutely fall short. Okay. Look, the training, untrained or unqualified C&P examiners are huge. There's a high turnover. The VA is contracting to Veterans Evaluation Services, QTC, or Optum. So basically, a third party contractor. And some of these examiners are doing nothing more than online training. They've never served or strapped up boots a day in their life, right? And they are untrained and they are unqualified. On paper, they meet the regulations and they meet the requirements according to the 38 Code of Federal Regulations. However, they are untrained and unqualified. Just because you have a doctorate or a piece of paper does not mean that you are trained or qualified to be a C&P examiner. But here is the reality: the VA has a short, it is coming up very, very short in being able to find doctors that can accurately fill out disability benefits questionnaires across the country and across the world. There is a shortage of them. So they're willing to take what they can get as well, which ultimately leaves the veteran on the outside, and it leaves them facing and going up against untrained or unqualified C&P examiners. One of the most significant issues with some C&P exams, too, is that the examiner may not have had the appropriate expertise or training to assess the condition accurately. Many veterans say, "Man, I went for this condition, but I only saw a nurse practitioner. They didn't actually see the medically trained doctor that is specific to the condition that they filed for." Conditions like PTSD, conditions like chronic pain, conditions like TBI, conditions like musculoskeletal disorders often require examiners with specialized knowledge, and that is not what veterans are getting. That is the brutal truth. When an examiner lacks experience or training in a particular area, they may not understand the full scope of the condition, leading to what? Bad or incomplete evaluations. And guess who's on the chopping block? Guess who's on the outside? Me and you. That's not fair to us, right? So an example is: an examiner without mental health training may misinterpret the severity of maybe your PTSD symptoms or depression symptoms or whatever mental health symptoms you're going for, or whatever symptom it is that you filed for, whatever condition you filed for, resulting in an inaccurate diagnosis or a lower disability rating. Then you're having to higher level review it. Then you're having to provide more evidence, which just delays your claim that much longer and waste your time and waste taxpayer dollars. Okay. So we need to be worrying about getting more qualified and trained C&P examiners, and that would cut down on money spent as well too. And the VA needs to quit giving biased C&P examinations and not looking at all the evidence that was submitted as well. Okay. Number two, there's rush C&P exams. Many veterans, right? I hear it all the time. They report that their C&P exams lasted only a few minutes, right? Most veterans going in are not even educated on what they're walking into, especially if you go to a VSO for the most part to file your claim. The VSO, it's not their job to get all your proof together. There's some good VSOs out there that may help you with that, but the majority are not. They're throwing up your claim and then you ain't hearing from nobody. You're expecting to hear from somebody, but you're not hearing from somebody. Then you're walking in and you're going, "Dang, my C&P exam only lasted 3 or 5 minutes." Why? Because the C&P exams are being rushed, right? You are not getting the credit for your right hand being raised in the service and for the condition that you have as a result of your military service. Okay. So the examiners failed to ask detailed questions or perform necessary physical or mental assessments. I talked to a veteran today. He said, "Man, they never pulled out no goniometer on me for my range of motion at all." That's not fair. It was an unfair C&P exam. I said, "Dang, why didn't you report it?" "I didn't know to report it." He had no idea, right? Because we are not educated. We are not helped. We are not given the playbook. The VA doesn't want to give out any more benefits than they need to give out. I'm not trying to badmouth the VA. I'm very fortunate. I'm very thankful for the benefits. Don't get me wrong. But also, why is it so difficult? Why do we have to jump through the hoops that we need to get the benefits that we served and deserve, right? This is what I believe. Every veteran needs to be rated where every veteran needs to be rated. If that's 10%, if that's 20, if that's 50, if that's 70, I don't know, but you need to be rated where you are, right? And you answer this question for me, okay? What veteran does not want to get benefits for them and their family for their service to our country? Just answer that. I don't know anybody in their right mind, any human being that does not want to. So get the benefits that you deserve. Okay. Rush exams are absolutely problematic because they don't provide the examiner enough time to fully understand your condition, resulting in what? Incomplete or inaccurate reports. Okay. So let's put it this way. Let's say you go in for a musculoskeletal back exam. If the examiner does not thoroughly assess range of motion with a goniometer or the impact of pain during daily activities, and they don't report that on the disability benefits questionnaire, then guess what? It goes back to the rater, and the VA might undervalue your back condition, resulting in a lower rating. That's why treatment is so important. You need to let the VA know. You need to let your healthcare professionals know my back hurts, my range of motion hurts, my pain and combination thereof with my range of motion are absolutely impacting me. And the VA wants to know, how are you being impacted occupationally, socially, relationally, in your life as a whole? Right? The worse the condition, the more severe the condition, the higher the rating. That's for every single condition in the 38 Code of Federal Regulations. Okay. Number three, this is a common theme. This is a reoccurring story. There is bias and dismissiveness on the VA's part, right? It's one of the most problematic issues that veterans face during CMP exams is the potential for examiner bias or dismissiveness, even when the veterans come in with the evidence that they rightfully can. Look, you as the veteran are already on the out because we're not given the cheat codes or the playbook for winning our CMP exams and how to properly file a claim, right? If we were, then there wouldn't be so many veterans needing help, but the VA doesn't give those. The VA doesn't give nexus letters. The VA doesn't give outside medical opinions. But it's funny when veterans do come with all the right evidence and they do get the help that they finally deserve, then some CMP examiners are noted saying, who told you? Why did you go get an outside medical opinion and stuff? Why? Because it's within my right. Why? Because if I didn't submit this evidence in, I'm going to have no leg to stand on or nothing to fight from, because while I was in or while I transitioned, I never got the help that I needed. That's why you CMP examiner that want to question that, I'm doing it because your opinion, CMP examiner, may be biased or dismissive, right? Or that rater who I don't know, who I'll never talk to, may be biased or dismissive. Each regional office is also not accurate too. If your claim goes in the wrong regional office, good luck. Some examiners may carry a personal bias against us as veterans, whether due to preconceived notions or a lack of empathy or a lack of untrained professionalism and uneducation, right, for the unique struggles that me and you face, right? This bias can result in the examiner downplaying the severity of a veteran's condition, particularly for conditions like mental health or chronic pain or issues that are invisible, right, and not easily measurable through physical tests. Unfortunately, it's garbage, and the dismissiveness can undermine the validity of the veteran's symptoms and lead to inaccurate evaluations, which is not fair to you nor me. A contributing factor to this problem is what I like to call exposure syndrome, right? Where CMP examiners over time become they become not so empathetic. They become basically desensitized, if you will, to what me and you have going on in the stories, because they hear it day in and day out. The more claims they hear, especially those involving similar symptoms, the more they may tune out something or discredit the severity of conditions, right? And then biasness starts coming in and creeping in, right? And then the veterans left, and some of the veterans that are worse than others are not getting the ratings that they need. Okay. So let me give you an example, right? There's been a veteran suffering from depression or PTSD or chronic pain. Maybe they've had their symptoms minimized by an examiner who heard similar stories maybe numerous times from Iraq, Afghanistan, or wherever you were at. And as a result, they doubt the credibility of severity of the veteran's condition. This could lead to an unfairly low disability rating or worse, denial of service connection. Together, get treated, get the treatment, tell your story, right? Don't hold back. Let your story be known. Let the doctors know. Get the help that you need. Make sure it's in your medical records. Make sure it's in your VA records. Make sure that you speak up. You are your best advocate, okay? That way you have a leg to stand on if you do meet a biased, right, or dismissive CMP examiner, okay? Look, here's another thing. Number 4, they don't like this, but fee-based private medical evidence. It's not uncommon for some CMP examiners, like I just talked about, to dismiss or devalue private medical evidence submitted by veterans, especially when it comes from an independent medical examiner who is compensated for their services, right? But check this out. This is frustrating and it's hypocritical. Why? Considering CMP examiners are also fee based, right? They aren't sitting there doing the job for free. The VSO ain't sitting there doing the job for free. Who's doing it for free? Talk to me. Talk to me, right? Unless you're retired, 80 years old, and ain't doing a good job working at the DAV. You know what I'm saying? There you go. Okay, maybe, but nobody ain't just sitting around twiddling their thumbs doing stuff for free because life is going on and bills have to be paid and people have to get paid. Would you be working for free? No, right? But so they get paid. They get paid to examine you. So what are we talking about here? And some of the only evidence you have, tell me, examiner, how are we going to do a secondary? How are we going to do a secondary? How are we going to do it without a private medical evidence? How? It's very hypocritical because the VA, the VES, Optum, QTC, they get paid per fee. And also, let me throw this in here. That's why claims are rushed too, to see as many veterans as they can so they can get that money. It's all about the Benjamins. But then they like to come back around and say, oh man, veterans are just after benefits. Veterans are just after money. Veterans are just after this. Let me tell you something. If I raise my right hand, dude, and I'm put in danger and I'm serving this country, if I have an injury, doggone it, I'm going to speak up about it. Why? Because you didn't give me the cheat codes. You didn't give me the playbook. You didn't give me the rules of the game. It's unfair to me already as a veteran, right? If not, then let me ask you something. Give us the playbook, give us the help, give us the need that we need. VSOs start giving us CMP exam, or start giving us Nexus letters, start giving us DBQs, start helping us Service Connect, start helping us get our evidence together. That ain't happening. People are walking down. Half these people don't even care. They're throwing up claims. They're throwing up 3 mental health claims on one claim when you can only get one mental health condition. It's happening. It's reality. It's reality. I talked to a lady today who paid $1,750 for a Nexus letter, right? Got denied. Nobody came up with a good strategy plan for her. Nobody told her that she was fighting an uphill battle, but they were quick to take her money, though, weren't they? They were, right? So the contracted VA examiners are paid for their work. So dismissing independent evidence purely on the grounds that it was fee based, absolutely unfair, absolutely hypocritical. It's garbage, and it's not in line with VA guidelines, right? According to the M21-1 Adjudication Procedures Manual, there is no preference for or against treating physicians or independent examiners. I'm not making this up. This is in the M21-1 Adjudication Procedures Manual, right? I'll even drop it in the comments, okay? There is no preference for or against treating physicians or independent examiners, meaning all competent medical evidence should be considered equally, regardless of whether it came from a fee-based examiner, right? If a CMP examiner unfairly dismisses your private medical evidence and your claim is denied, you need to follow a higher level review to address the mistake and ensure that your evidence is properly evaluated with equal weight, okay? So let's say you're a veteran and you're diagnosed with PTSD. You submit a comprehensive PTSD mental health evaluation and you get an independent medical opinion because you got a combat infantry badge on your DD-214. You get it from a privately hired fee-based examiner. However, the CMP examiner disregards the report solely because it was conducted by a paid independent provider, leading to a denial of the veteran's claims. Well, here's the thing. Maybe that veteran got out during Bahrain in 1990 and it's 2025. They sucked it up and dealt with it. Now they're having intrusive, reoccurring nightmares 30 or 40 years later, and they got a combat action badge on their DD-214. I got a guy right now that we're serving that has a combat infantry badge, right? That got denied in 2018 for PTSD, even with a combat infantry badge, right? So what's he going to do? He has to get an outside medical opinion. He has to get something to fight that because the VA didn't help. The VA straight up denied. So what are we talking about here? As long as it is honest, integral, ethical, the doctor's not blacklisted, then you, the veteran, should be getting the help that you need. It is absolutely critical, absolutely important, and you need to come with all the ammunition to the firefight. Very, very important as well, too. I'm throwing down the M21 1-1 about reports. I'm actually going to put that in here as well. I just put that in here. This is about sufficiency of examination reports. There it is. There it is right there. I just sent that to you. Okay. But Ben Munoz, I'm gonna get to some of your questions. Ronnie, I'm gonna get there too, as well. Okay, to some of y'all's questions after I get through this. But I just dropped that M21-1 adjudication procedures manual there. Okay. Number 5, there's pencil whip C&P exams. A pencil whipped exam occurs when the examiner rushes through the disability benefits questionnaire without actually conducting a proper evaluation. Some examiners may fill out the DBQ with predetermined conclusions, regardless of the veteran's actual condition. This leads to reports that fail to capture the severity of the veteran's symptoms and the real impact on their daily life, right? So an examiner, a C&P examiner, may mark normal range of motion on a DBQ for a veteran, maybe that's you with severe back rating injury, without conducting any physical test or a goniometer. I heard it today. It happened today to a veteran, resulting in a lower disability rating. There's also inaccurate assessment of severity of symptoms. In some cases, an examiner may misunderstand or misinterpret your symptoms, especially if they are complex or fluctuate over time. Be thorough. How are you impacted occupationally and socially? For conditions like migraines, chronic fatigue, or mental health disorders, they can vary in severity from day to day. If the examiner only considers the veteran's condition on their best day instead of their typical or worst day, it can result in inaccurate assessment. Okay. So let them know. Don't lie about anything, but don't minimize, and let them know how you are impacted at your worst. If you're missing work, I am missing work. Document your symptoms. Keep a migraine log. Keep a sleep log. Whatever you're filing for, let them know the severity of what you are doing. You need to know that, right? Here's another thing. Negative medical opinions not based on evidence-based rationale. A negative medical opinion often stems from an examiner concluding that a veteran's condition is less likely than not connected to their military service. This phrase carries very significant weight in the VA's decision-making process and can lead to a denial of benefits. Okay. So very important. That's why outside medical opinions are very important, especially if you need to combat a negative opinion by a VA C&P examiner. And then sometimes the VA is unable to give a medical opinion without resorting to mere speculation. So in my opinion, though, this is very frustrating. It's a sorry cop out that shouldn't be allowed in the VA disability claims process. The VA system is supposed to be adversarial, where the examiner's role is to fairly assess your condition based on the evidence that was submitted in your claim. The benefit of the doubt rule should apply, but again, they pick and choose what they want sometimes, meaning that if the evidence is evenly balanced, the decision should absolutely favor the veteran. The examiner is simply offering their medical opinion on whether the evidence is equally balanced, meaning there's a 50% chance that the veteran's condition is related to service, at least as likely as not. Unfortunately, some examiners may claim they are unable to provide a medical opinion without resorting to mere speculation. And that happens when the examiner feels they don't have enough information to make a definitive connection between your condition and your military service. Okay. So those are examples of bad C&P exams. No range of motion tests for musculoskeletal conditions, dismissal of combat-related PTSD and symptoms or awards, combat infantry badges, action badges, bronze stars, purple hearts, etc. ACE exam is incorrect. Theory of service connection is incorrect, mainly for like migraines or sleep apnea, whenever they may just call you up and ask you a question and you don't really need to see anyone, but still the ACE exam sometimes can go not in your favor as well. And then failure to address secondary conditions, right? Sometimes veterans have secondary conditions, but the C&P examiners contracted by the VA, they fail to talk about those things or secondary things, especially like knee pain, or if hip pain is caused by knee pain or back pain, etc. Something secondary, they fail to mention that as well too. And the examiner fails to document that the veteran's claim that basically, let's call it hip, was secondary to the knee injury. As a result, the veteran was initially denied compensation for the secondary condition and had to appeal the decision with a supplemental claim by submitting new and relevant evidence not previously considered. More likely than not, a nexus letter, independent medical evaluation as well too, probably with a DBQ, and then a second C&P exam corrected the errors from the first exam, and the veteran was eventually awarded secondary service connection. Okay, so what do you do if you get a bad C&P exam? How do you get a new exam? Call the VA hotline immediately. Okay, I'm gonna throw that in this chat, right here. Okay, here we go. Here's what you do. You call the VA hotline immediately. Okay, and you explain to them. You explain the problems you encountered during your C&P exam. Okay, that's what you do. I got the number right there for you. Okay. You write a memorandum for record, an MFR, right? Just like we wrote in the military, document the details of your bad C&P exam and an MFR. Make sure you do it. Stick to the facts. Be clear. Give pertinent details only. Very, very important, veterans. Okay. If you've had a unfair C&P exam, right? File a formal complaint as well too if you need to. If you believe the examiner was biased or unprofessional, consider filing a formal complaint with the VA or even your state's House and Senate representatives. Very important. Okay, make sure that you do that. Make sure it's very important. Don't give up. Write an online review of the C&P examiner. If you got a bad C&P examiner, consider writing an online Google, Yelp, or other platform review of the provider to warn other veterans. Right? Hey, don't go there. If you get them, call the VA, call QTC, Optum, VES, and ask for a new examiner. Very, very important to make sure that you do that and request your C&P exam results ASAP. You want to know what was written in there, but if you do that, you need to request a copy of your VA claims C file. Okay, very, very important. And that's going to be VA form 20-10206. I've got that link right here for you guys. Okay, there's a link to it. If you need to order your C&P exam, use that form right there and order it. Okay, just letting you guys know. Okay, all these forms are here, man. All these things are embedded. If you're just tuning in, I'm giving you forms. I'm giving you cheat codes to get what you need. If you've had a bad C&P exam, if you're wondering why your claim went so quick, what you can do about it, how to solve the issue. If you do need help, if you do need an unbiased medical opinion, if you need help, reach out. We are here, 904-605-0431, info@veteransclaimservice.com. We care about you. We want you to be in the best position to win your claim, okay? That is very, very important to us, okay? Ronnie Carlisle says, everyone needs medical evidence first. Go to your doctor's exams. Agree. Get as much medical evidence as you can. All the evidence up front is very, very, very important, right? Why have you been stuck on stage 3 for months? Ben, I can't answer that question because I didn't file the claim or help you with it. So I don't know how many claims that you filed. I have no idea at all. But what I do suggest is reach out and make a VERA appointment, have them call you and find out why it's stuck on stage 3. Okay. There could be many different reasons. Maybe they just need to be kicked in the butt. It just depends. Okay. Again, remember, right now, the claims are taking about 130 to 140 days to go through. Okay. Ronnie Carlisle says 6 or 7 months is normal time at this moment. That is true. Exactly, Ronnie. It could be. And again, it depends on how many claims you submit. I have seen claims go through quicker this year because of like automation and stuff. And I've seen a lot of screw ups on the VA's part as well, too. Okay. Very, 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 very important to make sure that you understand that as well, too. Always go the least path persistent, veterans. If you go the harder path and stuff takes a lot longer, then, you could be up the creek without a paddle and it could be taking a long, long time. Jason says, I got denied for my secondary, even though they said it was connected to my primary. Makes no sense. That was from a higher level review. I would need to look at it. Maybe you're going to end up needing another outside medical opinion. Submit a supplemental claim with new and relevant evidence to get what you need. Maybe you need a nexus letter and an outside DBQ as well, too, to get that. Just keep fighting. Don't give up on that at all, okay? Make sure that you do that, okay? Make sure that you guys get the help that you need, okay? Ben, thank you for your service. I appreciate you. Just make sure that you guys get the help that you need. I hope that this information helps you out. Thank you for tuning in to this live stream. This is, I really hope this helps you out. Like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell, share this out with someone that can use this information. Thank you so much for your service to our country. I appreciate you guys. Y'all comment in the comments if you've had a bad CMP exam. Share this out with someone that can use this information. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.